Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and it is the last of the long forms of the day. And let us rejoice, for it is, of course, today 1 year to the day that Humza Yousaf took control of Scotland and led it into a bright, new, sunlit future. And everyone rejoiced and was happy. And look how marvellous Scotland has become in the mind of Humza Yousaf. He is, in fact, of course, just about the worst leader Scotland has ever had. And I mean ever. And there's been some real stinkers in the past. But this man sows division through his ineptness, his stupidity, his loathing for fellow human beings, and his just outright appointment of criminals and fools and psychopaths to every position of power that he can think. And it's no wonder, of course, that Scotland is sinking in its own mire. It is turned into a midden under this leader. And I'm using the word leader out of politeness, because he's not. And it's not just me saying it, it's not just you saying it. But now, even Alex Neil, who was himself in the SNP, said Humza Yousaf is not a leader and that he is useless. And if ever the nickname Humza Useless was invented, it was invented for this man, wasn't it? Useless by name, useless by nature, and people are basically finding him out. Let's have a look at what Alex Neil was saying. Here goes. So, Humza Yousaf, not a leader, and his Skexit strategy is mince, says former SNP MSP in scathing takedown. Well, he's not saying anything that people don't already know, to be fair. It's not as though this is a big, well-kept state secret that Useless is indeed useless. He's not a leader, he's a seat warmer at best. And for some, a bed warmer. But he's certainly not a capable politician. He responds with every question that he doesn't like straight to aggression. He doesn't question why the person's asking it. It's always an aggressive response. And that's not good in a politician. You don't want your first response to be aggression. It engenders aggression in other people. But of course, that's who he is. He's a very aggressive person. And the moment you question anything about him, he responds immediately, doesn't he? And he comes out teeth bared, claws drawn, and ready to leap onto the argument, rather than actually addressing the point you're trying to make. And that, of course, is why he's not a leader. The First Minister is celebrating a year since being appointed the SNP leader, but he has not won over doubters in his own party, with former Scottish Government Health Secretary Alex Neil blasting his performance so far. I have to remember Alex Neil, not Angus MacNeil. They're two entirely different people, and they are very different in many, many ways. Humza Yousaf is not being a leader, and his independent strategy is mince, according to former prominent SNP Cabinet Secretary. And Alex Neil made the comments in a scathing takedown of the First Minister on the first anniversary of his ascension to party leader. This ascension, it was his apotheosis. It was his becoming. Oh, you've finally made it all the way to the SNP. And he became godlike, a deity in his own mind, and thought he could do no wrong. He looked at his mistress, the previous leaderine, and thought, I can be her, I can do that, I can hold people in sway with my very presence and being. And the answer is no, you can't. For all her faults, and boy God does she have a lot of them, she was a leader. She was, and she's a good politician. Awful policies, hate everything about her, loathe the woman personally. But professionally, she was a good politician, and she was a leader. He does not have anything about him that says leader. There is nothing. He's not even revered within his own party. He's not even seen as a leader by many in his own cabinet, for heaven's sake. So how can he possibly justify this greatness that he's bestowed upon himself? It's a joke. It's been a year littered with failure and scandal, according to his rivals. Now, not his enemies. His enemies are on the opposition. His rivals are the ones within the party. As his role in protecting both disgraced Michael Matheson and Nicola Sturgeon was pointed out, as well as a series of gaffes, including taking the UK government to court over gender reforms. Many times he's taken many court cases and lost them all. And he hasn't won a by-election or election yet. Has he? Failure. Written through like a stick of Blackpool rock. You snap him in half and look, and it just says failure all the way through the middle of his spine. Except, of course, he probably hasn't got one. He wobbles like a jellyfish on every issue. Won't stand up. Ken Doll of Scottish politics. Nothing down the front. No balls. No cojones. No spine. He also presided over a plummeting SNP vote in the polls, and his Skexit strategy has led to accusations that he is promoting toxicity in politics. He has repeatedly called for a Tory-free Scotland, and this has already been disowned by some nationalists who fear, of course, that it becomes hatred. It becomes something other. It's becoming very like the National Socialists of Germany in the 30s, but that for him is a good thing. And it's weird, really, because you would think that the National Socialists of Germany in the 30s would have stopped at Jews. Very much mistaken. Mr. Neil has called on Mr. Yousaf to make stark changes of how he leads both the Scottish Government and the SNP. Amid concerns, he's floundering in the top job. Well, shouldn't have been put in that place if he's floundering. The former Health Secretary was a prominent backer of Kate Forbes during the leadership contest. And I think as a unionist, the Unionist Party as well, and all the unionists who watch the show, look at me, the channel. I'm off my own arse a bit there, aren't I? Shows, hardly that. I'll put my top hat on and do a singing number, maybe. But, you all know that really the best thing that happened is Humza Yousaf winning. Imagine if Kate Forbes had come in and actually been, good. It would have been troubling, wouldn't it? Thankfully, Humza's there. Hooray! It's a shit show. Anyway, he said it's not been the greatest year in the history of the SNP, but he says, but to be fair, a lot of that was what Humza inherited from Nicola. Oh, it was a poison chalice. He wants radical reform on education. Oh, yes, education, that'd be nice. They could bring that in. That'd be super. Haven't had that for 17 years. And the NHS. And again, it'd be nice to have a proper NHS instead of the ramshackle thing that you've created in Scotland, thanks to 17 years of SNP perpetual underfunding. He said he needs to be bold and he needs to be audacious. Well, that's him out then, isn't it? He can't be bold and he can't be audacious. He's too worried in case he upsets people. He's Mr. Nice Guy. Bold, my arse. Anyway, he gives the impression he's a commentator on Scottish politics and not a leader. He now needs to lead and seize the agenda from what is a very poor opposition. They don't need to be good. To be fair, they don't need to be good. Talking of opposition, did you see that the British Virgin Islands played the United States Virgin Islands? And it was a 0-0 draw. All those virgins. And nobody scored. Sad. Anyway, Mr. Yousaf is also facing up to a resurgent Scottish Labour lead ahead of a general election this year, with the SNP facing the loss of dozens of MPs. Oh, well, there's already dozens. Dogs again. There's already dozens that have gone or are about to jump ship. Old guards. And now the ones that remain are likely to dump as well. It's cracking. It really is. And this is why he's adopted a Tory-free strategy, because he knows he hasn't got an argument against Labour. He's screwed against Labour, so he's going to go, what can we possibly win? I know, a little victory. Because a little victory means he gets to stay on. No, Humza. When you are handed your arse at the general election, whenever it shall be, any time from June onwards it could be, you will be 30 seats down. Maybe. Possibly. And at that point, you ain't staying. There is no way you are staying. You will be humiliated and you will be asked to pop in for a wee drink. They'll give you cocoa. The rest of them will be on the whiskey. Then they'll hand you the revolver and tell you to do the decent thing. Because that's what they do, isn't it? They'll give you the polite speech and that, and they say they'll be very kind and they'll let you resign. But don't make a mistake about this. You're being fired. After the day after that Friday after the election, you're fired. You'll call it a resignation, but we all know you're being handed your P45 and told to disappear to the back benches and never be seen again. Bit like Matthews, isn't it? Matheson, isn't it? Anyway, the idea, he said, that you could start independence negotiations after 29 seats. For that's what, he said, that's for the birds. Nobody believes it. The Tory-free slogan is idiotic. It's a free Scotland we want, not a Tory-free Scotland. So what I would be doing if I were him would be taking the measures to necessary. Words are hard. to regain the SNP's reputation for competence. When did they have a reputation for competence? I'm 57 at the end of this month. 5 days' time. 4 days' time. I had to use my fingers to count that. I'm an accountant. I've been out of the game too long. I've forgotten how to count. Anyway, 4 days, I'm 57. I don't think in my entire lifetime they've ever been regarded as competent. Criminal, sure. Anyway, he says Humza needs to get support for independence up and well over 50%. At the moment, he says it's only hovering around 50%. Is it bugger? It's 48%. It's well below, it's below, and it's getting worse, and it continually will. Keith Brown, deputy leader, insisted Yousaf was providing the leadership Scotland needs. That's the last thing he's doing. Scotland doesn't need leadership like this. It needs good leadership. It needs competent leadership. It needs a leader who knows what Scotland needs and, more importantly, how to get it. It needs a leader who can stand up to the Greens and say, "Be gone, you weirdos," and take all those stupid policies with you. That's what Scotland needs. What it doesn't need is an incompetent fool who doesn't have a clue what he's doing and constantly goes on aggressive attacks the moment anyone challenges him on anything. Loser and useless. Sums him up nicely. Coming up. So he's had his first and only anniversary as leader. That's it. Well done. Humza, enjoy it. It's your little day of celebration. You won't get another one because it's all downhill from now on. Now, before I go, because like I say, it's the last one of the day, I just want to point out, this is important. This is important to me. I won't say who it is, but somebody in the comments said this about an hour ago as I'm recording it, and I thought I'll save it till the end. No, I don't look like Alan Adale from Robin Hood. Thanks. I mean, I don't mean that that's a bad thing to do, but I've got to face reality. Very soon it'll be Friar Tuck. Although, given the size of me, I tell you, unless we're on a diet, might be Friar Tuck sooner than I think. But anyway, all of you, have a wonderful Wednesday evening. Enjoy what you're doing. We'll start this whole ball game again tomorrow morning. Keep an eye out. There may be a few in-betweeny swift ones, little ones. I'll put them out. Other than that, there is one thing that is coming. I asked you all to give me a sentence on what you all think of Humza Yousaf. I've got them. I've got them there, and I don't think anything's going to change. It seems to have settled down. I've got the top 10. I'm going to do a video on the top 10, and that will come out probably tomorrow. I'll do it. But it is some of the comments are fantastic. You guys are just so funny, clever. Some of you should write for me. Come and be my script writers. Yes, no, honestly, some of them are really hilarious. Some of the really popular ones are very similar, so I'll kind of merge them all together. But we will have a look at them tomorrow. As for that, thank you. You have been marvellous. I've been the Silver Fox, and we'll start, as I say, this whole ball game in the morning. Bye.